useEffect is a React hook that allows you to perform side effects. But wait, what are side effects? Side effects are operations that are outside the render cycle of a component. So in React, components are supposed to be pure, meaning they're supposed to take props and states and return UI only. But sometimes you might want to do other operations inside your component, such as setting timers or even fetching data in your component. So those operations are not allowed because the component is supposed to be pure. Now, useEffect is the hook that allows you to perform these operations, which we call side effects now. So to understand useEffect better, you need to understand the render cycle of a component. So the cycle, or rather the process, the render commit process, is made up of major two steps. So the first step, React calls your component and calculate changes. So this is done through reconciliation, through the use of the diffing algorithm. It compares the current DOM with the previous DOM to see if there are any changes. So after that, it goes on to the next step now, which is commit. This is where React applies those changes now to the real DOM. Remember, React uses virtual DOM. So after that now, it hands over to the browser, where the browser performs the painting. It draws a visual representation of those changes in the browser. After painting now, that's when your useEffect runs here. Now, with this understanding, we can go on and check a demo of how useEffect is being used. So I have a little React app here. What it does is that it captures keystrokes. While you're typing in this text area, after every 50 milliseconds, the useEffect is going to log whatever you've typed. So let's run it. Let's just open it side by side. There we have it. So when I type here, it's going to log whatever I have typed in the console. So we can open the console now. So there you have it, saving hello. So this is the initial text that we are having. But as you know from what I have explained, useEffect runs after painting, right? So there's a brother to useEffect. It's called layout effect. So useEffect works almost the same as useEffect, but it runs synchronously in between commit and painting. As we saw, useEffect runs after painting. useEffect runs here, then painting, then useEffect now. So let us see that one in action. So let's say this one consoles something. Use layout effect here. So as you can see, useEffect is the first one here in the order, but this log is consoled earlier than this one. So there you have it. Now, useLayout has been having its own challenges. Let me explain those issues first before we see the demo. So the first one is state closure. State closure is where React does not know that a change has happened. In other words, it is not able to capture the changes of a state, right? So, for example here, if we type, it's supposed to update according to what we've typed. But in the case of a state closure, the log will just console this initial state, initial value of our text. So if we remove this text here from the dependency array, we are going to have that state closure issue. So let us see it. So you see, originally this text is supposed to update, right? But now we are only having this state here. It's like our component does not know that the text is changing. Whenever you use a state inside a useEffect, you needed to include it in the dependency array so that it knows whenever this state changes so that you can make the updates. So we can return our state there so that to deal with the state closure issue. So now we are having the updates, right? But this one brings another issue. You don't want to re-render your whole component every time you type a single stroke. But this is what is happening. Whenever we type now, the whole component is re-rendering. So this one seems to be faster and having no problem, but in real world applications, this is going to be messy. It's going to cause performance issue. So this brings us to the second issue now. The first one was state closure, which we somehow dealt with it by adding the state that we used here in the dependency array. But now that one again brings us to the next issue, which is the re-rendering. So unnecessary re-renders are happening here, which is causing performance issue. So how are we going to deal with that? Because if we remove it, that will cause state closure. If we leave it there, it causes unnecessary re-renders. So our life is in trouble here. But thanks to the React team, recently they released a hook that deals with this issue. So the hook reads the latest value of a state without re-rendering. The hook is called useEffect event. So let's see how to use it so that we can save our lives. So use effect event, just like any other hook. Oops. You need to import it from React. Yep. So how to use it? You put the operation that you want to perform in your useEffect inside the useEffect event. So in our case it's this one. We're going to put it there, and then let us assign it a variable so that we can use it here. So let's say const save draft, that way. And then we just use, so instead of the operation we use that variable inside there. So this way now we can remove from the dependency array so that we can avoid unnecessary renders, but at the same time we won't be having that stale closure issue. You remember the first time when we remove the text here, we had the stale closure issue, right? But now with the help of useEffect event, we are able to read the latest value of text without the unnecessary renders. So let's see that one again. So as you can see now, we are typing, but we are not seeing those unnecessary renders here, which we were seeing originally. And our state is just updating as well. So that way we've dealt with the unnecessary render issue and the stale closure problem. So thanks to useEffect event. If there's anything that I have left out, let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.